Hello, this is Tomas Sten with the Mesa Arts Center, here with this week's writing prompt. For this week's writing prompt, we are going to focus on the era and culture of hip-hop music. Hip-hop is more than just music. It's a cultural movement that incorporates four main pillars of artistic expression. These original four pillars are DJing, MCing, breaking, and graffiti. These original forms of expression have also developed into further subcultures with lasting legacies. The intersection of these four elements also generated a cultural revolution that rapidly spread across the globe. The global influence of hip-hop culture has shaped music style, fashion, technology, art, entertainment, language, dance, education, politics, media, and more. To this day, hip-hop continues to be a global phenomenon, developing new art forms that impact the lives of new and old generations. Hip-hop is a subculture of an art movement that emerged from the Bronx in New York City during the early 1970s. Its development reflected the negative effects of post-industrial decline, political discourse, and a rapidly changing economy. During this economic collapse, much of white middle-class populations moved to the suburbs to escape the social and economic challenges. The migration shifted the demographics and segregated communities. Conditions worsened in neighborhoods predominantly populated by African Americans, Puerto Ricans, and Caribbean immigrants. Urban despair also brought rise in crime, gang violence, and poverty. As a result, urban youth turned to the streets for recreation and self-expression. The abandoned buildings and parking lots set the stage for block parties. These block parties laid the groundwork for everything associated with early hip-hop culture. DJs and MCs brought the music by setting up mobile sound systems, introduced by Jamaican culture. Sheets of cardboard became dance floors for breakers, and brick walls transformed into canvases for graffiti artists. A new era was on the rise, fueled by sentiments of anger, hardship, and abandonment. However, the emerging hip-hop movement transformed despair and racial barriers into numerous creative outlets. It also became an outlet to deal with violence. All right, for this week's writing prompt, we're going to focus on two pieces of artistic expression. One is a song by rapper Common, who samples the iconic MLK "I Have a Dream" speech, and the other is a poem, "The Rose That Grew from the Crack in the Concrete," by one of the greatest hip-hop artists of all time, Tupac Shakur. All right, like with all our other writing prompts, the goal is to reflect and listen to the expression of other artists, and then take our thoughts and inspiration and write our own version of that poem, or in this case, maybe you write a hip-hop verse. All right, for our warm-up, we're gonna listen to a song by the artist Common titled "I Have a Dream." Normally, this is where I would tell you to push pause on this video and reflect on that artwork. But you're gonna have to push pause anyway and open up a new tab and go to YouTube and search Common "I Have a Dream" to find the model poem anyway. So do that, and then before coming back to this video, take a couple minutes to reflect on that song. I have a couple questions that might help you reflect. One is, what are your dreams? What is true freedom? And are the lyrics of this song different from a poem? And if so, how? All right, we'll see you in a minute. All right, now that we've heard that song and we reflected, we're gonna read a poem by Tupac Shakur titled "The Rose That Grew from the Crack in the Concrete." Did you hear about the rose that grew from the crack in the concrete? Proving nature's law is wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from the concrete, where no one else ever cared. All right, now that we've heard the poem, we're gonna reflect on the poem. I'm gonna ask a few questions. You can pause the video and answer these questions. The reason why I do this is because these questions allows us to take a deeper look into the poem, and it creates some momentum and inspiration before we start to write our own version of this poem. All right, so here are the questions for today's poem. Reflect on the image of a rose growing between a crack in concrete. What does that contradiction express? Focus on the line, funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Connect this line to the Common song and the MLK sample and focus on the power of positive thoughts. Now it's game time. Time for you to take all your thoughts, your inspiration, and write your own version of this poem. Or just write a poem in general. Remember, the goal is to have fun, make a mess, and tell your story. We'll see you next week with another writing prompt. Have fun and be safe.